I'm Rob Sarney, and you're listening to What the Heck, Fintech, where you'll experience and learn that Fintech is Fin Life. Let's get started. Welcome back to Part 2 with the Gemsen team. If you didn't listen to Part 1, go back and hear the unique and very interesting backgrounds of this great team, and to hear about the secret sauce that Gemsen is doing to solve major problems in AI in the fintech ecosystem. I'd love to take a little step back too. What was that moment? What was that aha moment when the three of you, and you might have done multiple pivots to get to that aha moment, when you said, "This is what we got to do. This is what was that like? Was it an event? Was it a series of events? Like, was it you all just like brainstorming? How did you come up with the idea of Gemsen and your approach? It's like, was it an event that triggered you or something that really hit you home?
I guess I'll jump in, and I have one view. I'm not sure that it's the best view, but the way I kind of saw it is that, look, machine learning is not new technology, and the reality is of LLMs and Gen AI is not new technology per se. I mean, the underpinnings of all of this, any of this, was developed maybe 50, 60 years ago, at least the theory. The aha moment for me was the point where, in the day-to-day, in terms of day-to-day workflows, especially in financial services, because that's what I touched the most, throughout the number of years, is that how do you figure out ways to implement better solutions within the bounds that you have to work in? And that's the reality. We all work within bounds. We have constituents that we need to provide for. We have regulatory concerns and risk management that we need to accommodate. We have reporting requirements that we have to deal with. As little fun as that is the reality. And so, and there's a good reason for it, because you just can't have financial service firms do whatever they choose willy-nilly, because they have entire people's and families' future at stake. So that's the reality. And the aha moment was like, well, okay, fine, these are the bounds, these are the rules. I can't imagine that even with the advent of AI, the current form of AI, if you will, that those bounds are going to dramatically change. I don't think that anyone is entirely comfortable saying, hey, I'm just going to throw my entire portfolio at chat, and boy, I'll keep my fingers crossed, see what comes of it in, a year and 5 years, right? I'm not sure that many people are willing to do that. But what are people, more interested in today? Well, okay, what are the patterns? What do we know? What don't we know? How do we, start forming, putting together prototyping and hypothesis of what inputs work, what are the outputs? That is still part of the discovery process that I think will be enduring. And that to me is why this, makes a lot of sense. And, talking about pivots, I think that was the original question. Sure, we've pivoted, but I don't think we've pivoted away from the underlying rationale for why, this type of technology is relevant. It's relevant because it does things we need to do today, and for the foreseeable future, and it does ways that are efficient, effective, and understandable by those that have to decide whether those particular decision processes or workflows are working, not working, and when they need to evolve.
Yeah, that's great. Ezra and Aoife, what, did you have an aha moment, or was it all together, or is it separately? You're like, we got to do this. This is a big problem.
I think from my perspective, what was really compelling is that, the markets are constantly becoming more efficient, right? So as we sort of think about the active management, it's clear that that's a space that is really being almost 100% arbitraged away. So building the latest and greatest, again, econometric models 20 or 30 years ago could add a lot of value to clients. Nowadays, it's very hard. But essentially what we're saying is that we can help, whether it's a bank trying to sort of get ahead of fraudsters, whether it's exchanges trying to monitor the behavior of markets, whether it's trading algorithms or brokerage firms that are trying to provide the latest and greatest trading technology. These are things that we can help with the advent of this technology. And these challenges are not going away. There's just only increasing. So it wasn't, my aha moment was it wasn't reliant on one particular use case. It was reliant on lots of interesting use cases within finance. And I sort of harkened back to my days where Charlie had mentioned this earlier, but the amount of compute we needed in order to build models was really overwhelming and at times could delay implementing models. That is still a problem today. So this solution was relevant back in the day, and I'm sorry we didn't build it 30 years ago for you, but it certainly will be in the future.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that speed to market is just getting more and more of a challenge, right? You have to be so super fast and pivot, but sometimes you don't even know where to pivot. Whatever your business is, you need the data. So yeah, the speed you need today is at a whole different level than it was yesterday, literally. Mm-hmm. Aoife, what was your moment? Like, I got to do this with these guys.
I think mine is more on the technology side. When you think about speeding up machine learning, the approaches people have taken to date is either run it on faster hardware, which has limitations like, A, there's only so fast a chip you can get your hands on, and B, there's only so fast the algorithms can actually run. So either speed up the hardware or try to make more efficient algorithms, which hits a ceiling at some point. But this approach of creating this middle step, this statistical abstraction layer, is a totally different way of speeding up machine learning, and it's so effective, and we haven't seen anyone else doing it. And so for me, that was the exciting moment when I realized, okay, we can really, really speed up model training times in this simple way, mathematically elegant way, compute efficient way, and it's so relevant for finance.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I'm going to pivot a little bit here now. So on questions. So Gemsen went through Mass Challenge, Fintech cohort. What was that like, and how did it help you, and what did you learn? And I'd love to hear your take on that whole process.
I'll jump in, and everyone else will fill in the gaps. But my take was that it was an incredible experience. For a number of different reasons, and so we all came with a particular background, particular experience, and so it's not like we had no idea what was going on and no idea what was what we were doing. We all did. We all have some idea, but what was so powerful about Mass Challenge is that it really got you to think about other angles that you haven't really kept at front of mind. And these other angles, just to give you an example, right? As a startup, depending on the type of technology that you develop, your audience, your target, target customer profile and whatnot, there are other, very complicated issues that you need to resolve. So for instance, if you're a B2B company, such as what we are, we sell to other businesses that have very strict risk management, security, compliance rules, right? Those are the things that we have to think about. It's awesome to be able to say, hey, we have ML that is a gazillion times faster. But when it comes to, okay, can a particular bank or a particular brokerage, can they actually adopt your technology? Well, that depends on other questions, such as how do you secure the data? What happens when your system goes down? What type of backup processes do you have? What type of regulatory approvals and hurdles have you already exceeded and achieved? Those are the types of questions that you don't get asked all the time. And a lot of people don't think about that because that is not the fun, innovative, creative, changing the game type of work that you do as a startup. But guess what? If you're a B2B startup in fintech, in financial services, you better start putting out a roadmap, even if you don't have all the answers right now. And so that to me was one of the greatest benefits of just being in a accelerator like Mass Challenge.
I thought you were going to say because you met me.
Yeah, that too.
I went to the Fintech finale and I saw you guys, and I want to reach out. I want to collaborate with these guys. So, but that was a joke. That was a joke.
Half joke. We are deeply appreciative.
Rob, had you called on me first, I would have said you. So just so we're aware.
Okay. Ezra gets the check, gets the smiley face, nice big green check mark. I like that. Well, Aoife, what do you think about Mass Challenge? Like, since you're focused on that technology side, what did you do? Did it's like from meeting other geniuses like you, talking about tech? Like, what was it?
I'm no genius. But I didn't get to participate in person as Ezra and Charlie did because I am actually based in Europe. I'm from Ireland, but I spend my time living in different cities around Europe. And so I zoned in virtually, saw a lot of great presentations and content, but unfortunately I didn't get to network in person.
But still, so that's great. So you're all over the world as you drive this startup. That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess you could say I fell into the digital nomad lifestyle.
Did COVID create that for you?
100%. Yeah, I spent lockdown for COVID in Ireland, not able to barely leave the house for months on end, and then they lifted the restrictions and seated a whole group of people who were working remotely and moving around at different co-working spaces in Europe.
Wow, I'm in Australia right now. You guys didn't know. No, I'm joking.
Yes.
all I gotta do is change out the background, right? Boom, I'm in Australia.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't doubt it if you were in Australia, to be honest.
Right? Yeah.
Well, the accent kind of says Boston. Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, but you can travel. You can get on a plane.
I guess that Boston accent's similar to the Australian a little bit. You know what I mean? They drop their R's. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ezra, what are you thinking?
Yeah, thank you. I thought the experience was exceptional. As I sort of think about it, learning from the other members of the cohort was invaluable, right? Because we all are faced with similar challenges, and listening to their stories, listening to their path, I thought was invaluable. Mass Challenge also offered lots of really interesting speakers and advisors, and certainly learned a lot from that experience. And then the opportunity to reach out and say, listen, this is a challenge that we're faced with. What would you recommend? These are all really invaluable contacts that we've met. And as we sort of think about, I think one of the critical features of a successful startup is the networking effect, right? And I think Mass Challenge, we all come to the table with our own networks, but this enabled us to even expand that even further. So I thought that was another important feature.
Yeah, it just shows how important networking is, right? Never underestimate, no matter how great we do in technology, the networking people to people, whether it's via Zoom or in person, it's just a huge, great experience to advance learning and collaboration. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, Mass Challenge is a great organization. I get to, because I get to see a lot of their events because of all the Mass FinTech Hub and all the FinTech stuff, and that's a great group. So
I'll just add.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. No, I'll just be real quick about this one. I mean, I know that you were, joking or maybe half joking in terms of the connection you and our team created through Mass Challenge, but there's a lot of seriousness there. And the way I look at it is, if you've ever been in a startup ecosystem, so much of it is dependent on what's, Brownian motion. So if you, look, think back to high school and chemistry and whatnot. I mean, Brownian motion is just this space where lots of molecules and atoms are just banging into each other. Some of them combine, create something new, right? But that's the truth of startup ecosystems, is that, you have so many conversations that at some point, some of those conversations might align, either in terms of interest or in terms of timing or, whatever. And I think one of the best things about Mass Challenge or any number of, different of these ecosystems is that it continues to foster, the networking effect, like what Ezra was just talking about. And the more you do it, the more likely that some of these collisions is going to net something that is going to make a difference in the journey of that startup or in the journey of those individuals. And I think that's, maybe kind of an obvious statement, maybe it's a generic statement, but I think it's something that is absolutely true in terms of Mass Challenge in the way that it is able to continue to foster that Brownian motion. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, I second that. The whole reason for this whole podcast is exactly that, right? It's just to get the word out so people know and can meet people and reach out to them, right? And at the end, I'll ask, how can everyone listening to you can get connected with you? Because you never know. Could be venture capital, could be a student that wants to develop with you and join your company, and it could be a professor that wants to do projects. It could be whatever it is, right? It could be all in the above, right? So that's the goal of this podcast. That's why I love the way you're talking about it and framing it all. It's awesome. Now one area that, because I think the audience and myself really understand the power of what you're doing. I know what stage are you as a startup, so people get that kind of reference. And right now, because you can't go after the world, even though you could probably solve the world with what you're doing. What's your beachhead market right now that you're focused on from a customer standpoint that you're really trying to impress? So what do you guys think about that question?
So lots to sort of unpack there. I would say in terms of the beachhead, we've sort of described a little bit of the edge that we have. Again, Aoife had mentioned this, but we haven't seen, first and foremost, we haven't seen other solutions similar to ours, nor have the collaborators that we've been talking with or potential clients have said the same thing, which is they've certainly researched various solutions and have said the same thing to us, which is we haven't seen this solution out in the marketplace. So first and foremost, I'd sort of leave with that. And then specifically in terms of the beachhead, I think given the fact that this is a new paradigm and a new way of sort of thinking about machine learning, the more we talk with the industry, the more we realize that there are areas that they can really use our technology. Again, whether it's enhancing market surveillance, whether it's enhancing their anomaly detection models, their fraud detection models that banks are using, whether it's enhancing, again, the way a credit bureau might want to be able to share analytics with their customers. There's lots of different sort of use cases that we think are incredibly ripe for opportunity. And the key is that they're not going to, as far as we know, they're not going to get these solutions from others. So that's sort of the beachhead, which is we have this technology that others don't, and there's a real return on investment that a firm can realize if they start working with us. That's sort of at least the way I think about that question.
Yeah, I think no matter what market you pick to start out with, you're going to crush it because it is so novel and it's not out there right now. So I think that's awesome. Yeah, I don't think you'd pick wrong, whatever you pick. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts out loud of what you're thinking. Seems like you get, I heard Credit Bureau, I heard some other ones, but you're open to learn even more as you talk to more customers, get customer discovery, all that kind of stuff. That's what it sounds like.
By the way, Rob, I think that's a really important point. The three of us want to learn from our customers and collaborators. In other words, we don't come to the table saying we have all the answers. We come to the table saying we have this really interesting, compelling technology that we think you might be interested in. Tell us your problems, your pain points, and let's figure out a way of working together. So I think we're all humble enough to realize that we don't have all the answers, far from it, but we're very excited to learn about what their challenges are and figure out a way of solving. Because there's nothing, at this point, there's nothing more exciting for the three of us to say, oh, this is a problem we can solve. Let us explain how we can solve it. That, to me, is a really exciting part of this path that we're on.
Yeah, my guess is all my entrepreneurship professor friends are going to take that little snippet and put it in all their classes right now. What you just said, that is awesome. That is so true. I mean, hey, I learn every day. You know, I'm an idiot. I learn from everyone around me. I have to, otherwise I'm not going to get too far. So yeah, I love the whole process, and I learned so much from you know, working with student startups and talking with great people like Gemsen, and it's just like I learn every day. So wow, that is very cool. So I mean, events coming up. I mean, Aoife's traveling the world and hitting Australia, and who knows, you know, what events is Gemsen going to be at? If our audience wants to see you and shake your hand and talk to you in person, what events are coming up? And because I know, you know, a lot's going on in the fall.
Yeah. So one thing that comes to mind very immediately is Fintech Week in Boston. You know, mid-September. So we're going to be there. We are, you know, part of Fintech Sandbox as well. In their data residency program, we've been, you know, doing work with some of their data partners and have been doing work with them over the past few months. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're in Boston and you're at Fintech Week, definitely, you know, look us up. We'll be there. We may have a table or something along those lines, you know, during the week as well. Trying to think of others, but Aoife, there may be some, you know, some conferences in the Euro side of things that you're thinking about right now. Is that right?
I mean, tomorrow I'll be at Tech Barbecue, but I think
Wow.
your
In what
participants have to
country?
travel back in time to catch me there. That's the largest tech conference in the Nordics,
In the Nordics.
in
Wow.
Copenhagen. Yeah.
Wow. So what do they do for barbecue? Like what's Nordic barbecue like?
Yeah, it
It's
started
like,
out as a barbecue event. Now they just kept the barbecue in the name, but I did not receive any barbecue today when I attended, so a bit disappointed. But it's a good event.
wow, I love barbecue.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely Texas barbecue. Well, I don't know if you had Texas barbecue, but that's a different kind of barbecue. But also, you go to North Carolina, you get that vinegary type, you know, barbecue. I love that too. It's, you know, it's more pork and stuff too, pulled pork. I mean, so I don't discriminate when it comes to barbecue. You had me at barbecue, I shut off at tech. That's I love it. You know, and you know, even though Massachusetts is not a barbecue place, they still have great barbecue places there because it's Massachusetts, sure. You know, so Ezra, you hitting any places, or what are you thinking?
Yeah. So Charlie mentioned the local Boston scene for FinTech Week, and I think there are going to be a few other angel events that we'll be attending, primarily in the Boston area. But I think the key is that we, you know, because we have both the East Coast covered, Europe covered by Aoife, if there are sort of interesting events that we think that we can you know, meet interesting people in the fintech ecosystem, will attend. So we were recently at an MIT event a few months ago, and
Nice.
again, I think we're excited and flexible enough to sort of, you know, with some sort of screening involved. We don't want to attend everything, but we're not, again, so selective that we'll only attend sort of the higher echelon events. But I guess the point is that you can learn a lot from attending these events, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw out a few at you that might, because you fit into all these I'm about to say, right? So you got Startup Week on the 1st and the 8th, that's starting on the 8th in Boston, right? So September is crazy in Boston, right? So you have Startup Week, same week, blockchain, but the theme is blockchain and AI, right? So that's Boston Blockchain Week, and that's at Cubic Labs in Quincy. And then you already talked about FinTech Week, you know all about that. The week after FinTech Week is AI Week in Boston. So I'm going to be like, taking a nap all of October just because I'm going to be like, meeting everybody and trying to learn from them, right? So just going to give you take a look into those, and I'll be at a bunch of events across those. It probably just showing up, hopefully eating barbecue like we talked about. We never know. But so yeah, keep an eye on those things. You fit in every single one of those, right? And I think they'd want to talk to you after they watch this. To tell you the truth, get on a panel right away. Awesome. So what's the best way for our audience to connect with you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it some other social media? I'm just a LinkedIn person because I'm old, so how can people connect with you and get to meet you and hear you and see demos of what you're doing?
Yeah, you can catch us on LinkedIn under all our respective names. Otherwise, you can just email any of us. It's firstname@gemsen.ai. So yeah, please, we would love to hear from anybody who has curiosities, ideas, anything to say.
Awesome. We'll do that. So I want to say thank you so much. What a great conversation. Hopefully this all comes out really well. I got a whole team interviewing. So I'm learning. I learned today how to, interview a team. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you guys during the events and keep talking. And I know we're collaborating in my URI class I'm doing in the fall too. So we'll be talking more. And I want to say thank you so much. And I'm sure our audience is like, wow, I can't believe what we just heard from you, from all what's going on in Gemsen. So thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you and bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to What the Heck, Fintech. Make sure you tune into our next episode as we continue to interview fintech leaders and share real-world stories from across the fintech ecosystem, so you can fully understand that fintech is fin life.